enjoy the show. Play on Perjangers.
Tried many times in my life to do a Doctor Who podcast, and first one I started out at the very beginning from, well, what was the beginning for a lot of Americans, which was Christopher Eccleston in 2005. And the thing that really got me into Doctor Who was, it was maybe a couple minutes in when Christopher Eccleston is ushering Rose out of the department store before it blows up. He closes the door, and he comes out, and he's like, "What's your name?" "Rose." "Nice to meet you, Rose. Run for your life." It was at that point I knew I was going to be a Doctor Who fan. Eccleston got me in. Tennant was my favorite Doctor.
Everybody's favorite.
Peter Capaldi was a close second for me.
I really loved Capaldi. I thought he did and I think a lot of it too is because like he was a Doctor Who fan, like with the classic Doctor Who. So
yeah.
He had been
and so was
waiting.
Tennant.
Oh yeah, but so Capaldi had been waiting for this opportunity, and he went in at 110%, and he gave 120 every time he did anything.
And it was expertly written as to why he was in that episode with David Tennant, and then why the Doctor chose that face.
Yeah, with the Pompeii.
Exactly. And that was the episode to where he realized, like, no, I'm here to save people. And that was an overall theme for Capaldi's Doctor was, I'm this curmudgeon-y old man that's been constantly, going all throughout time and space, fighting every minute. He's been running away, but there are some things in Doctor Who. It's become more of like a monster of the week.
Yeah.
Less of an overall plot line of what's going on. I think that's what has me most excited about the new Who on Disney Plus.
Yeah, so I started with Matt Smith. I was 13, I think, and I used to go on this chat room called Chatsy all the time. I used Quiblo to like write. I wrote fanfic, that kind of thing. And we had it was like a Harry Potter chat room. So we would go in and we would just talk about Harry Potter basically. My friend was huge into Doctor Who, and for the longest time I was like, it doesn't really seem like my kind of thing. And she was like, "Don't worry about it. Start with season 5." So I was like,
I always said too many episodes. Too many episodes for me. It's got how many seasons? No, I'm not going to get into that. I'm not going to like it.
There are some episodes that are definitely a miss, but I think overall, I enjoy most of them. Like, there's hardly ever, even the episodes that are a miss still have parts that I think were written well.
Yeah, there's something that you can love out of every episode. I mean, from what I've seen online, a lot of people are getting angry with how woke Doctor Who is.
But they always do.
Well, but it's a show about change. It's
absolutely
always going to be about change. So you have to get used to that, and it's outside of the normal, I hate this Doctor, into I love this Doctor. Mm-hmm. Jodie Whittaker kind of really broke that mold because nobody was really happy with her.
Like I was saying, it's not her fault. It was the writing. She brought it to set every day, but
she was a good Doctor.
Was not her friend.
But they just didn't know what to do with her. They didn't know what to do with her. But then you throw in Ncuti Gatwa, and he's killing it because you think a black man going back in time. Well, no, this is
a black gay man.
Smart. Exactly. And it's smart how they do it. The first season, they leaned into the gay Doctor thing. I'm like, okay, whatever. The second season, they're focusing on him. And, they're really not doing anything for the gay Doctor by making him cry every single fucking episode.
I know that's a lot of people's problems, but actually I think that's going to be like a plot line later on.
Okay.
So right now, if anybody's unaware, we are on the 3rd episode of the 2nd season of Ncuti Gatwa. Mm-hmm. So, it was just the midnight episode, which was incredible.
I loved every episode this season.
Has been great.
It's been great. Lux was by far my favorite.
Lux was insane.
And just how you got the new companion. I'm forgetting her name right now.
Belinda. Miss Belinda Chandra.
how you get her in the TARDIS. She doesn't want to be there.
No, and she looks at him and she says, "I am not a project.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not here for you to, play with, basically. I'm not your toy."
Yeah.
And I think that really resonated with him a lot because of what he had just been through with the toy maker and
Yes.
Maestro and all the gods and stuff.
And then the laughing.
The
laughing
God.
keeps getting referenced,
It's
like, hey, you're
literally-
not done with this.
They said in Midnight, when it came out of the well, it was laughing.
Yes.
And they never played the laugh.
No.
But that's
Just-
immediately where I went.
Just that much alone was enough. Having and
my
then
God.
how they did
Every time I hear it, it sends
my
chills
God.
up my spine.
it does, and that's really well done, especially with Doctor Who, because you have the monsters, you have the aliens, okay, but there's always been an overarching enemy that he has to face. That's how the toy maker got big. That's how the master got big. They had these intricate plans involving a bunch of episodes that, oh man, it's this person. And when it's not just the Daleks again.
Yeah,
Hey.
my mom hates the Daleks. I think they're adorable, personally. I think they're so cute because they just, like, wheel around and stuff. I don't
Well,
know.
it's the nostalgia for me, because
Yeah.
that was one of the things that when my buddy was talking about Doctor Who to me before I got into it, and he was like, oh, he's telling me about the Daleks, and he was like, no, but it's awesome because in New Who, they can fly, when before
I love it.
it was like stairs just stopped them, and I was like, okay, that's evolution there. I like that. You're going with it with technology.
No, we're fine. We're on some steps now. Can't get up the steps, can you? He looked at her dead in the face and said, elevate.
Yeah, and just, look at that. And that was such a smart thing. It evolved from Classic Who, and it really brought it into its own. The writing it really stepped up during Matt Smith. Peter Capaldi had a really good story arc. Jodie was, and then you kind of landed the plane with the timeless
little bit,
child.
yeah.
The landing gear wasn't
A
down.
whole lot of retcon.
But you landed it. I'll give you that. And now with Ncuti, how you had to have David Tennant come back
Yeah.
to give it a fresh start. Everybody loves him. That's
yeah,
where
they know you're gonna watch the specials, which
And-
that's where Ncuti comes in.
bringing back Donna Noble,
Ugh.
fantastic. Especially Bernard, her dad,
Or
Wilfred,
Wilf, yeah.
bringing him.
Oh my
for
God.
what they got him to come back. I'm like, oh, thank God! Right before he died too.
When they said to David Tennant, they were like, "Oh, he's not with us anymore," and he just like, I loved that man. I loved that man so
He was-
much. And they said he's in a retirement home. He's
Yeah.
like 94. Calm down.
But having him in there, and especially giving that David Tennant doctor the extended story, because that was always the thing with him, was you
He
had
never wanted to settle down. And he's at this point now where he has to. There's no other way for him to work through his own trauma unless he has that support around him. And Donna provides that support.
yeah.
Her family, and then you also have, Vicky, who is a companion from, I believe, the 80s. She's like, they show you, they're having dinner together at the end. She comes
Yeah.
over to visit. He doesn't, and that's one of the things he tells Rose, is that he can't tie himself to any one person because you get old and you die, and
Yeah.
I stay the same.
The doctor hates endings.
He hates goodbyes.
He hates goodbyes. He
Rips
hates
out the
endings.
last page of a book because he hates goodbyes.
And that's one of the best parts about him going into Ncuti, is especially with this season having this overarching enemy, Miss Flood being a huge question
Oh yeah, so
that they're
that's
not
the thing.
letting out.
That's
and
the
then
thing with the crying.
Oh.
Her name is Miss Flood. Come on.
okay,
What if she is causing that?
Okay. I mean, I definitely, especially with this last episode. I mean, because you didn't. No, you did see her in Lux.
Yeah. Well,
So-
she was in this episode. It was at the
And
very
then
end.
she was at the very
Yeah.
end of this episode in the future. So now you have extreme past, extreme future, and you have both those extremes. So in the very past, the big thing about this episode was that the human race wasn't a thing.
Yeah, I know, and they didn't really touch on that too much. They just kind of said, "We've never heard of Earth." What is that? What is the human race?
And it's because when that last episode in Lux, they go back and they look, and it's just a debris field, and you just see, the planet was destroyed.
I was telling my sister, I was like, it's whatever's going on May 25th. That is what has caused this for sure.
Because you can't land on the 24th. Miss Flood already knows what he's trying to do with the Vindicators. So, okay. So she knows what he's trying to do. You see her in time, which is the excellent kind of overarching baddie. You don't, it's just like the first rule of monster.
No idea what she's up to.
You don't show the monster. You don't show what she's planning. She's just a person in the background. And it's almost like people who loved X-Files, and they loved the man with the cigarette.
Yeah.
That is just kind of like that, but it's a little bit more overt. Like, oh no, you're going to love. And I love how she breaks the fourth wall.
Right, yeah, she looks, it was the end of season 1. She looked directly at the camera.
The part I like, especially with these, is you go onto the YouTube, on Doctor Who's YouTube, and they have behind the scenes. And the woman who plays Miss Flood, she's had people offer her and like bribe her to tell them what it is, and she's like, "Well, I don't know, but I could use a new roof. We could use that," and not knowing, and her even like, "I wish I knew. I wish I knew." That's expert level, keeping a secret, because that's where when we find out who she is, you're gonna be like,
"Yeah." Oh. So that's what So he has cried every single episode.
Yeah.
That he has been in.
That's the thing that annoys me.
And I know it annoys a lot of people, but again, I really think it has something to do with her.
That really makes a lot of sense.
Besides that, though, I do think it's general growth as a person, because with David Tennant, they say that, like, he is the Doctor after that incarnation of Tennant. So Tennant has had all of this time with his friends to be able to heal, to be able to feel things, like, to take a minute to stop.
He had a couple times with himself,
Which is something that he just didn't do before. It was just one adventure to the next, never giving himself a moment to breathe.
Yeah.
And I think that with Ncuti, they're trying to show you that he's giving himself these moments on purpose.
Yeah.
He's crying for the people that he lost because he can't hold it in like that anymore, because it's not good for him.
Yeah. I mean, when we meet Belinda and the Doctor is on the other planet, he already has another companion lined up, and then she dies. That I found was justifiable crying, because oh my God, it was almost like
he was with her for 6 months. I mean,
every time that companion that was gonna be the companion, but I lost her, that kind of thing. It resonates with the Doctor, because he's like, it's almost like he sees the missed places he was going to take them.
Right. Like everything that they could have been.
So highlighting more of that was good on his character, to where now with the crying, that makes more sense that you want to tie that to Miss Flood, because it's very uncharacteristic of the Doctor to cry. And now letting that out, because when you're looking at just the overall themes of the baddies, you have the toy maker, you have the one woman who was Maestro with sound, and these are like primordial things, right?
They're like literally
sound and all this. It's the core of the universe is where they're bringing these deep villains. So especially with the laugh and all that, I think it's all going to tie up to Miss Flood drawing something else from the primordial.
Well, it's interesting too, because you find out with Clara, when she's traveling with, Capaldi and stuff, you find out that she's only there because the Master put her there. She was the woman in the shop who gave Clara, the Doctor, the number for the Tardis.
Yeah.
And that's how he, finds her again.
And Belinda was the soldier in, was Boom. Yeah.
Which was honestly maybe my favorite Ncuti Gatwa episode so far.
Yeah.
Boom made me sob.
Yeah.
That was
so,
and
God.
like to
that
be able to do that kind of acting in one spot for an entire 45 minutes is
whole episode
so impressive.
In a crater.
Just everything happened just right there.
Yeah.
And
that
Ruby
was
died and then didn't die, and
that was really well done. And it was the overall theme was just of an endless war of people not knowing, even if they're actually fighting anybody. They're just shooting and killing themselves, and that's the overall. I loved how they took like the imprint of the person,
Right.
and yep. Well, you got
Oh
this
my God.
holographic dad now.
That poor dad.
But that was the boom, and seeing that emotion, like that writing is Russell T Davies.
Yeah.
When you have the showrunner like that, and you have Moffat and Davies, they brought Doctor Who to where it is.
Yeah.
I mean, Chris Chibnall, you tried, but
He did his best.
when you have Russell T
He has some
Davies,
good
really knew he had Eccleston and Tennant.
Yeah.
I mean, Moffat killed it with Smith and Capaldi, in my opinion.
Absolutely.
But, you know, that's where we get Russell T Davies back. You know, we got the Weeping Angels.
Ugh.
You know, we got Blink. We got so many
Blink
great
is still the highest
episodes.
rated episode of Doctor Who.
And even Midnight, which I had to really go back on Google and I had to look up images and remember Russell T Davies taking on the show running was the best choice for them, because with Davies, you get a little bit, he thinks about the long term, to where, especially with the Monster of the Week, which was what a lot of people had problems with. You look at the Monster of the Week, if there isn't an overarching villain, it's pointless.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean,
All you had to do with the Timeless Child was just tie the Master into all these little monsters that he dug
Right.
into along the way.
especially because
It
you
would've been
had,
fine.
with the Flux, you had the Santarans, you had the Daleks, you had the Cybermen, all of them were there. So, like, and then obviously, like, in the Power of the Doctor, when the Master does, like, come out and, like, you get Jodie's regeneration and stuff, it's, he has, like, the Cyber Masters. And, like, he's also got Daleks, and they're working together. He's made them work together because they all hate the Doctor.
Yeah.
So why couldn't they have done something similar to that, where it was, like, it was all the Master's plot to begin with? The Flux happened because of something the Master did. And, like,
Yeah.
I know they wanted to touch on Division and retcon that and whatever, but I don't know. I feel like they missed the mark with the Flux in that there was no real payoff in the end. Like, you got the whole, you know, they
there's
fixed
no point to
it.
it. You know, you added your own Chewbacca in there for no reason.
Yeah, I loved Covenista, though.
He was
great.
awesome. He's
Come
my
get-
human.
Come get your human.
I loved that premise of having everyone on Earth has their own dog person.
Yeah,
that
every
takes care
single
of-
person, you have a dog out there that's ready to come collect you when the world is ending.
I just imagine my mascot of Perjangers, Hero Time Link, just cruising around in a little spaceship, like, "Come on, Dad, we're going."
And then he gets to stay with Instant V Vinder and Belle at the end with their
sounds great.
baby. And that, honestly, that evokes Star Wars to me. That was very, like, you've got your rogue flyer, you've got your giant hairy monster, you've got your girl character,
I mean,
and the child.
Well, they even had a booger monster.
Oh, yeah.
That was so gross.
I completely forgot about that.
So
I
gross.
think,
'Cause
honestly,
they had
the
space babies.
Yeah, the Space Babies episode might have been my least favorite one.
Oh my God. I mean, it was so corny, but I mean, it still had a good aha moment.
Yeah.
It had that gotcha moment of, yeah, guess where the boogers went? Like, you nasty
That's disgusting.
ugh. So gross.
Oh, man.
And, you know, just these simple premises, that's it. That's all it takes for Doctor Who. You don't need much. And, you know, fans had a problem with the story last time. Now, it's not the story. All right, you don't understand the wokeism, but that's not necessarily a problem. That's a plot point you haven't seen yet.
See, I hate when people say that, too, because, like, this is how Doctor Who has always been.
Yeah.
Ever since, and I have not seen all of Classic Who. I'm currently working my way through the second Doctor. And even with them, like,
Well, and they had the
you
fire,
have,
too.
You have, God, what is her name? I'm trying to remember his one companion. Because he has a lot of different female companions. Jamie is a mainstay. I love that man. He's perfect. He was the inspiration for Jamie Fraser from Outlander. But he's like his best friend. And then he's got Victoria, which is the first female. She's great, especially for being literally from the Victorian era. The way she just kind of like fits herself into everything anyway, and is like willing to do whatever he needs. God, I can't remember.
I kind of
her
feel like
name.
that's what they need for a companion. They need to grab somebody from the past.
They have
and have
they
him
have a
travel with
companion.
that.
let me look it up real quick because this is gonna bother me if I don't.
Because Classic Who had the overarcs. They had like 3-4 episodes that they went over a certain area, just like when they added Classic Who to Netflix,
Right.
They had
It's on Tubi right now, which is what I've been using.
Okay, they had the Aztecs, and then you saw the whole arc of the Aztecs. They had something from the second Doctor, some from the third. Zoe, yeah.
Her name is Zoe. She is from the 21st century, which is already hilarious because it's 1969, I believe.
Yeah.
And this is their idea of the 21st century in the 60s. But she is so like in your face strong. Like she is a very strong female character, and at the time, a lot of women were being cast in roles where it was literally labeled as the screamer. That was your job. Your job was to be afraid of everything.
Just scream.
I don't know if I've heard Zoe scream one time.
Yeah.
Like, she is on the ball with everything.
Or especially Classic, who was very on the cusp of a lot of those going against those tropes. And, I mean, they used infamously Doctor Who props in Star Wars and stuff like that. So the Classic Who had its place in
the
history.
editing. The editing of classic Doctor Who is never not going to get me because they got, the miniature TARDISes that they used, and they would make, like, large miniatures in the way that, like, Lord of the Rings did. It was bad, but, like, it's so charming. Like, watching it now, it's like, I know how you did that.
Yeah.
And it's just so interesting to see, like, these were the film techniques of that time.
Yeah. And then you go to the made-for-TV movie from the 90s.
Which I have not seen yet, but I know Susan is in it, and I loved Susan, his granddaughter.
Well, that's where, and you got this with the Netflix series. Well, when it went on to Netflix and the new Who in 2005, they had the Doctor getting romantic with Rose, and they were like, "But that's not Doctor Who."
We can't do that.
It continued from that because they did that in the 90s. In the 90s movies, 8 had a kiss, and it was like, oh, everybody had their tits in a twist because that's not the Doctor.
The 8th Doctor was fine, can I just say?
They also brought him back on the 60th anniversary for that. It was like a little web series to where he was trying to pick up somebody and save him from a spaceship crash.
He was in the Power of the Doctor as well.
Yeah, she wanted nothing to do with him.
Yeah.
Like, fuck you, Time Lords. I'm out. I'll die.
And I mean, I think a lot of it too, like, again, I'm still on the 2nd Doctor, but I believe it's the 4th Doctor is the one with the scarf. He, I believe, had like a romantic plot line with Sarah Jane.
Yeah,
because
and they brought Sarah Jane back, and they still had
Rose,
that kind of
they made
chemistry.
Fun of him.
Yeah. Oh man, but Doctor Who has never had a successful thing with spinoffs.
Yeah,
they tried it with Sarah Jane.
I really wished that
they tried it. Torchwood was not bad.
I haven't watched Torchwood, but I
do
love Captain Jack. R.I.P. I know he's not invited back to set ever again.
Well, you know,
maybe don't expose yourself to your coworkers.
Back in the day, it was funny. Now
I bet it probably
it's sexual assault.
Now nobody wants to work with John Barrowman, and it's his own fault.
That was a shame because he had his whole run on Arrow. He was coming back to. They were going to bring him back to Who and do the Face of Bo again. They were going to explain the Face of Bo, and then they were like, "Nope."
That is my favorite plot twist. Is like when you find out that.
Spoiler alert.
Spoiler alert. This whole episode's a spoiler alert.
It's a Doctor Who podcast. You're not watching this if you haven't.
If you're not caught up, then
let me see what these guys have to say about Doctor Who. Oh my God, they ruined it.
Oh no, spoilers.
When you find out the Face of Bo is Captain Jack, that's one of the first little.
I watched the show with my sister. I made her watch it basically, and I was waiting. Because we saw the Face of Bo a few times, and, Captain Jack leaves at the end of the one episode, and he says, "The Face of Bo," they called me, and she looked at me like somebody had just shot her in the heart.
It's one of the best reactions when you have somebody go through and watch Doctor Who, and you're rewatching it, and you're like, no, just wait.
I know what happens. I know the plot twists,
Oh, yeah. And I was dating a girl one time, and I was getting her into Doctor Who, and she was just like, "I'm not going to watch if Rose isn't the companion." I was like, "Well, get ready, Junior.
Yeah,
it's going to change. You're going to have to get used to that change."
I do wish we'd gotten a spinoff with Clara and me.
Yeah,
Because
that would have been a good
yeah, they went off, at the end in their own little
But you
TARDIS.
can always bring them back.
You can, yeah, and that's the beauty of the way that he leaves the companions a lot of the time. Like,
Yeah.
there are some instances, obviously, like with Rose, like he's never going to be able to see
Freema
her
came
again.
back for a little
Right.
bit with Mickey, which was awesome.
you even did get Rose again in the 50th special.
Yeah.
Because she was there as like the interface.
As the bad wolf. Yeah, a bad wolf.
He
Bad
said,
wolf.
David Tennant turned and said, "What did you just say? Did you
Yeah.
say bad
Oh
wolf?"
my God. Bad wolf girl, I can kiss you.
Yeah.
That's gonna happen. And he goes, "What'd you just say?" That was one of the
wolf.
best written things in the 60th. Because Moffat was a fanboy too. And then you had Russell T Davies, who's, Moffat was bringing back like the Medician Cybermen and all these deep pulls and creating new characters. And that's really what I do appreciate, how Chris Chibnall tried to create new characters.
Yeah, he's going, like, trying to make new villains, so we're not, recycling Cybermen, Daleks, and Sontarans forever.
He tried to keep it interesting that way, but he didn't have the overall linchpin of somebody pulling the strings. It was just like, here's some new guys, and that's where people got annoyed. But now, with Russell T Davies behind the wheel, I don't really pay attention to the episode per episode. You got to really judge it by season per season with Doctor Who, because it's 8 episodes, I think, 8 or 9.
9, I think the last one was.
And you get a lower count as opposed to what they started at, because you got to figure back in 2005, a common season was like 24 episodes.
Yeah, those seasons went a while.
They're not doing that anymore. They don't have writer strikes that much. See a correlation?
I'm getting my one friend right now into Doctor Who as well. We have like Discord streams every so often where I'll just put on an episode and we'll watch it. He has gotten up to Clara. He just met, not just met, because
horrible companion.
I will fight a man. You specifically.
I don't like her. I don't like her.
I don't know why. I loved Clara and her relationship with the Doctor and the way it changed when he regenerated. I thought that was
That's where I lost a lot
well.
of respect for her. And I was like, bitch.
He
is
called
right there.
her.
He is
But
right fucking there.
look,
He
'cause
shouldn't have had to call her in the first place.
Listen, Rose
Even
did
Rose,
it.
she got on my nerves too.
She
like,
did
bitch,
it
he
too.
was right there, but I mean, you went
But
from
think about
Eccleston.
it.
She
You're
got
traveling,
over that real quick in one episode, okay? She got over that in one episode because you went from Christopher Eccleston to David Tennant, and she's like,
I do
I'm
think
not mad.
that having Clara have that kind of reaction gave us one of the best scenes, because you have the scene with Madame Vastra where she puts her veil back on, and and Clara asks her, like, why are you wearing your veil? And she says, we are in the presence of strangers.
And then, when'd you take your veil off? When you stopped being a stranger.
You stopped noticing it.
Oh man, that was good, man. I would like to see her come back, because that was one of the lizard people that live in the center of the earth. Oh my God, I love the Silurians.
The way that, like, I think it might have been a Big Finish podcast or like episode that they had done where it was Matt Smith and he meets Vastra for the first time, and she's like in the London underground living in like the sewers, and he like saves her from it.
That's awesome. The Big Finish, that's a part of the Hooniverse that I have not
I've not really
into.
touched it at all.
I've gotten like
I know of some episodes.
I got like 2 David Tennant compendiums in the comics, but that was it. And then like the Big Finish books, I'm like, oh man, I can't. Like, and I love Star Wars books.
It's a lot.
I watch Star Wars books. I'll listen to Star Wars books all the time. But like the whole Big Finish, I'm like, I'm really sorry. I wish I could love you, but I don't know where to start.
I know like they have like the actual actors come back. Like I believe that there's like
even Eccleston went back.
Yeah, I was gonna say I believe that there's an episode with Eccleston and River Song where they finally get to
and that's
meet.
brilliant. I love
because
that.
she's scattered throughout his timeline. She's always meeting him in the wrong time. So
yeah, that and her and Clara.
Yeah.
I mean, and
Clara jumping into his time stream was
Tamalor was probably one of the best.
Yeah, the Journey to the Center of the Tardis is one of my favorites because that episode it goes so hard.
But probably one of my favorite scenes in Doctor Who was when the Tardis gets transposed into the woman.
Oh my God, I was just watching a scene from that before I came over here.
And Amy and Rory are finally in the TARDIS, and he goes, well, and this is my TARDIS.
My
and Amy
TARDIS,
goes,
and she goes, my doctor.
Did you wish really hard?
Did you wish really, really hard?
That was one of my favorite scenes because it was essentially, yeah, he did.
He did.
That's
really
that's
did.
what happened, and the writers made it happen.
House was like a really menacing villain too, because
Yeah.
it's like he's been. What do you mean he's been luring Time Lords here for how long?
And
Now
Corsair.
he knows that you're the last one.
And then that was the episode where you were like, oh, wait, there were other Time Lords popping
Right.
around. And they had, like, they went by monikers like him.
Well, because you have to think that not everybody must have been on Gallifrey the day of, the war. Like, there had to have been some,
The Master made it
scattered
off. He
around.
made it off. And I'd like to see more Time Lords pop up.
Yeah.
I really
me,
would.
Me as well.
You know, I mean, somebody whose TARDIS works,
Somebody who knows how to fly their TARDIS without leaving the brakes on.
Because there was
maybe.
Infamously in Classic Who, they made the TARDIS an organ once.
Interesting.
And
Don't think
fans
I've
were
gotten there.
not happy back then. It
I
had to be
love
in
the
60s.
idea, though, that the TARDIS is alive. That
Yeah.
The TARDIS has a consciousness, and the TARDIS is always taking him where he needs to go, not where he wants to go, where he needs to go. And
I'd like
he
to see
always fixes
more
it.
of that because it's a lot more specific especially in some of the latter stuff and the newer stuff now. It's like the TARDIS is exact. Like, all right, here we go. In the earlier episodes, it
would
was,
fight him
here we
sometimes.
are in Miami, and they're in the snow.
Yeah,
and you're
it's
like,
Russia. It's like 1901 Russia. Like, okay. I
yeah,
guess
like
we're here
I'd
now.
like to see a little bit more fight from the TARDIS,
Yeah.
A little bit less of the Doctor going where he wants to go and
Well,
where
right
he
now,
needs to be.
he's unable to go where he wants to go. He
And
is
that's where it
currently
comes from.
Triangulating.
Give me more of that fight back from the TARDIS of like, oh no, you really need to go here.
The TARDIS did a lot of that with Jodie Whittaker, I noticed. Like, a lot of,
Yeah.
like,
Would
because-
not go and
right,
would
with,
not.
like, the flux and stuff. It had all those doors, and, like, it was, like, goopy on the inside and shit. She had one of my favorite TARDIS designs.
And that's the thing. There's parts of seasons of Doctor Who that you can do each time, and you'll fall in love with a portion of the story.
Right.
Like, you know what? This was really good. I really did love this part. Really love this part. It's one of the reasons why the show's been on for so many years, and it's been on for so long. I think that I'm not worried about Doctor Who's future at Disney Plus because, the premiere episode this season got record numbers.
Right, and then, I hate when people are like, oh, it's woke. In every single group I'm in, like, I'm in a few Doctor Who groups, like, on Facebook, and, like, I keep up with it, like, their official page and stuff. And I'm just so sick of seeing grown men say, oh, it's woke now because they don't understand how to have emotions.
Well, there is a little bit of that, too, but the Doctor growing and showing emotions isn't necessarily the problem. Tying it into a bigger plot.
Right.
Now, that is expertly done. I hope they do tie it in with Miss Flood
and me
or
both.
something with that, because if this guy's just a whiny bitch, I'm going to lose a little bit of
He's
something.
not
for
a
you.
whiny bitch. He's mourning the people he's lost. He's taking a moment to fucking breathe.
Well, I mean, mental health aside, getting him back to where he is, where he's supposed to be is just, he is still cruising time. He's still trying to, hey, I'm just going to take you on an adventure. Cool.
He's
I'm
just
going to bring you
popping
back
around,
home. I'll bring you back here,
Except we're definitely not going to go back home, even though I'm trying really hard to get you home.
Because in the previews, though, for this season, they did show a section of Boom to where maybe it's part of the plot to why Belinda was there.
Yeah, well, so they said he said to her that was her ancestor in the future. But now the future's uncertain. Nobody's ever heard of Earth.
So that's where
how does Villengard happen then if Earth does not exist?
it does get kind of timey-wimey there.
Very timey-wimey.
But when
Wibbly-wobbly.
because you have this core little story nugget that they're going to talk about this season.
There was something very timey-wimey and fucked up that I noticed in one of the Jodie Whittaker episodes. It was I think the 2021 or 2022 New Year special. It's the one where they're at the storage unit and they're stuck in the time loop, and they keep it's them, and then it's the two like the owner of the storage unit, that lady is there, and then the guy that just comes every New Year's Eve. So she says at one point that she has to go save Nick because there's not going to be another 5-2. Like, if he dies in this time loop, he's not going to come back. because he had already been dead when, like, by that point when the time loop started. But then they all die, like, 3 more times.
Yeah.
And everybody makes it out. Yeah. And I don't understand how that tracks. Like, if he was dead already by the point that you're resetting to, how is he here now? Like, how is he just okay? Like, how is he in his storage unit still?
Yeah.
Absolutely no sense.
Yeah, there's a plot hole there. There's definitely a Pennsylvania-sized plot hole. I mean, that's not the only one in that season, though. But, I mean, that comes down to, I think Doctor Who being in Russell T. Davies' hands is very much a good sign.
Yeah.
And we'll get a lot more of this intricate storytelling, to where I saw one rumor that Ncuti, this is his last season.
I've seen that, yeah.
I hope it's not real.
I really hope it's not, but, he has had 2 seasons, and a lot of them only last for about 3, like Eccleston being the exception because he had issues with other crew.
Yeah, the creative.
Involved.
But outside of that, I mean, that was also, with Eccleston, that was the perfect intro for Doctor Who fans. Like, this is what happens. You have a doctor, and he becomes somebody new.
So I watched all of Matt Smith when I first started, all the way up to, like, current. Like, I think it was on, like, season 7 or something when I initially started. And then I was just jonesing for more. So I was like, all right, I have to go back to the beginning, and I have to watch from Eccleston to see how we got here. And I'm so glad that I did.
Because people will jump on a doctor, and they'll start there, and be like, oh, I don't want to go back.
And that's fine. Like, you can do that. That's the beauty of this show, is that you can start with any doctor you want, and it'll probably make perfect sense.
It's just when you start back at Eccleston, you have to realize that TV wasn't like it was now. They were shaking off that.
I mean, it started in 2005.
They were shaking off that theater funk of the 90s, to where even if you go back and look at Star Trek The Next Generation, it's still very theatrical.
Yeah.
And it's less like that now. Now it's like a movie when you turn on a TV show. It was not like that. And even in 2005, that's when they started to really put that movie-style writing into TV.
They really got the grunge vibe correct with David Tennant, because it was obviously early 2000s, so that was a big thing at the time. So everything was, like, kind of grimy, you know, like...
And Eccleston, he had the leather jacket. It was
oh, my God. I miss
Tardis.
him and his fucking duster.
Oh, my God. And Eccleston was a great doctor, even for what little he had. I mean... Jodie had her moments in her tenure, but
she definitely did.
She lasted longer than I thought she would. But
I thought they were going to be done with her after season 12, honestly.
Yeah, I thought that was like, all right, that was nice, bye.
And then they gave us the Flux and then 3 specials.
Yeah, and the specials are their way of kind of extending it out while they make their decisions as to where to go.
I think those specials went on, too, because they'd basically taken a break.
Yeah.
Because it was the Flux, and then you had the 2022 New Year's, and then you didn't get anything for like a full year, and then they did a Christmas special again. Yeah. And then they went back and,
Yeah, with the bi generation, and, they tied that up nice. It's also nice that I like David Tennant, and he's like, I'm not coming back.
I saw something that said Russell T. Davies stated that every single regeneration of the Doctor has a bi generation, which is insane, because what do you mean? Where are they?
Like in a multiversal sense? Or is he talking about like somewhere in the universe there's like another doctor popping up? Because that's an episode I need.
Yeah, right? Oh my God. I still have not told my friend that's currently watching that Tennant's going to be back for the 50th special. He's not gotten to it yet. That's the end of this season.
Yeah.
And I just haven't said anything. And it's so hard because I want to be like, can't wait. I can't wait.
You got to have that excitement for him, though, because that's one of the best parts of when you see him in the 50th.
And then him and Matt Smith get their whole, like, moment to shine where they're, like, doing their whole thing together. And it's Osgood and Kate in the room.
Osgood was one of my favorite people.
Didn't they mention her recently?
Yeah.
I think it was in one of Ncuti's episodes he mentioned her.
Yes.
I could be conflating that, though.
He mentioned her in one of, I think it was in passing on one of the episodes, but he did mention her. But bring Osgood back, man, especially with UNIT and all the stuff that they set up with Ruby Sunday on one of her last episodes, where it was just
Oh my god, the 42 yards episode.
Oh my god.
That was in the way that Unit showed up and looked at her, and they just left. And she was like, "What the fuck do I do now?"
That was so perfect because it was also kind of symbolic of what happens to the companion after the doctor leaves.
Right.
And it was her coming to
believe
terms with
like
it.
2 years or something. She had been by herself until she finally contacted Unit. And then
She was definitely a little bit delayed.
Yeah.
Compared to other companions, I feel like they reached out to Unit way quicker.
Oh yeah, I mean she like I think she kind of knew about Unit, but she didn't really know about them. And then she was doing her own research on whatever the fuck this creepy ass lady was that was following her around.
Because Unit goes away for a while.
Yeah, they just kind of like I think that they were gone for most of Jodie, and then she sees Kate at the very end of the Flux.
Mm-hmm.
Kate shows up, and that she says like Kate Stewart, and Kate makes a comment about how she likes this regeneration a lot.
Mm-hmm.
And that to me, I haven't watched a lot of Jodie in a while.
Well, you had another thing to Clara is the Cyberman episode with her, and they brought back Kate's dad.
Oh yeah.
As the Cyberman,
Stewart, and they were
my god,
they were fighting. It was a war.
And the original Doctor, when they brought him back, bringing another Stewart, was that the father, or was that like a grandfather? I know it was in the family.
That might have been her grandfather.
Because that was the first war,
because
and he was in
the
the 60s, so that would have been like second. So that's like we're on our third generation of Stewart then.
I think that Unit was founded in 1958, I believe, because you have like the whole Grand Serpent plot line, which was part of Flux, and like he infiltrated Unit from the beginning. And just kept going, and the first date that they gave you was 1958.
Yeah, so it had to be, well, at least it was the Brigadier in the first one, and it was, or in that Doctor.
I loved that they just didn't know who he was until the very end of the episode when when he says it, and he's like, "Get out of town, no way."
That's that kind of afterthought that we need to see more in Doctor Who, I think. But I think that with the way that this season's going, that there's going to be a lot to talk about, especially after Lux. And, all three of these episodes really just hit it out of the park.
I know a lot of people really hated that little fourth wall break they did in Lux where they came out of the TV and there was the fans.
Originally, I thought it was kind of corny, but
it made me cry.
It did hit me in the feels.
It really did, because it's like, that's me.
The Doctor meeting you, the fan. So there is a little bit of like tear in the eye that builds up that you're like, oh, that's like if the Doctor just hopped out and had a conversation with me a little bit.
He said, "Oh, didn't you guys see Boom? That's not your favorite episode." And they're like, "Nah, it's Blink.
Blink.
It's Blink.
Blink.
Top-rated episode still."
Yeah, I gotta tell you, and I'm like, Boom was great, but compared to Blink
was incredible.
Blink still wins.
I think the two standouts for David Tennant specifically are Blink and Midnight.
Yeah.
Because Midnight, oh my God, Midnight's a mindfuck.
Because even Waters on Mars, that doesn't really hit like Midnight.
I loved Water on Mars because that's when he gets his Time Lord Victorious speech, and that's like straight up like he thinks he's a god now.
Oh yeah, that's when you realize like, dude, you need a companion.
You need somebody to calm you the fuck down, because if
that
this
reality
is who you
check.
are,
Yeah.
He said
the
laws of time will obey me.
Yeah, I am the Lord of Time, and that's when he goes on his little power trip, and you realize like, all right, buddy, calm down.
I don't fucking think so, and then shot herself in the head. Trigger warning, guys.
Yeah, but that's the thing, is that there's always that need for the Doctor to have a companion. So when you have that part where they don't have a companion, I thought we were going to get into that with Ncuti, especially after you're like, oh, Ruby, you're going to be his companion.
Right.
If they keep doing this and Ncuti pops off, they get their next Doctor and then have a solid companion, I wouldn't mind that. I wouldn't mind that at all. Just keep one off companion series. Have them for the series.
That's fine, too, because like
maybe tie them all together.
There's a lot of episodes that like where like you hear that they've done something off screen, like so you know that they're just constantly going. They're always traveling from place to place, and you don't see all of it. You just see the most traumatic ones. And
if they encounter themselves, they don't remember because of time dilation. So there's infinite possibilities of any of these people meeting together. I'd like to see like a full-on Return of the Companions episode where all the old companions still alive come back to help solve something.
You kind of get that with Jodie Whittaker at the end of Flux.
Yeah.
Or I think it's the end of The Power of the Doctor, because that's when Graham is there, and they bring back old Ian, who was like his first companion. Ian and Barbara were his first companions, and he is so fucking old. I think he died shortly after filming that episode, which, like, I'm really glad that we got him. Especially because, you know, Graham is talking about his doctor, which is Jodie.
Yeah.
And Ian obviously knows the doctor as William Hartnell. And he turns around and he says, "I'm sorry, did you say her?"
Yeah.
Like, the doctor's a woman now?
Yeah, that's the one thing of all in time and space when you're traveling with the doctor. And then he's like, really?
Huh.
And that's it.
And then you get, you know, the corny Donna scene with her daughter where she's like, "Oh, shame you're not a woman anymore, because she would have understood. Just gotta let it go." And then they, like, release. That, I think that scene was phoned in. I did like it, but there were parts of it there that I'm like, come on, man.
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
We're just releasing it into the air. We can do that. Like, come on.
But there's a little bit of the check your mind at the door in some of the scenes with Doctor Who, but the overall feeling of the show stays the same. And that's what I think really lends to it staying around for so long.
I think, like, earlier, I believe we were talking about Capaldi and how he has the hero complex, but he doesn't believe that he does. And I think that is maybe one of my favorite parts of him, because there's the scene when they meet Robin Hood, and Robin Hood's, you know, he's not real. And
I love that episode.
The doctor is spending the entire time trying to prove that he's fake, and he does. He is fake. He's not a real.
If you were real, you'd die in 6 months. And the guy's like, well, I am real.
But, you know, he goes at the very end when they're talking. He says to the doctor, "You know her. You're her hero," and the doctor says, "I'm not a hero." And Robin Hood turns around and says, "Well, neither am I. But if we just keep pretending, maybe others will be heroes in our name."
Yeah.
And I love that line so much.
It puts both of them in essentially it boils them both down to their essential character of they're doing this, and no, they're not a hero. Robin Hood was an outlaw.
Yeah.
Yes, he was doing good things, but he was breaking the law every chance he could. The doctor does not follow the rules. No. He threw the rule book into a supernova because he disagreed with it.
Oh, my God.
So that's where you got to take you boil those two characters down, and the two characters that you think should get along the best. And he's just like, oh, he isn't real.
No, you're fake, actually.
Yeah. And, you know, it's that kind of level that really adds to the whole fantasy of it. And it lets you just disappear into it on top of the amazing intro.
Capaldi was really great because I think he brought a lot of, like, dark Doctor that we sort of started getting with, you know, the end of Matt Smith's incarnation.
And some sick guitar riffs.
So many guitar riffs. He, you know, I believe that he does. I love the guitar. I think he does play the guitar in real life. And he was in a punk band. He specifically requested that his doctor had a guitar.
He did, because he was in a punk band.
Hell yeah.
I forget who with, but he and this other guy, they were in a punk band.
Are you thinking Craig Ferguson? Because I know Capaldi and Craig Ferguson are, like, best friends.
Yes, they were in a band together.
And Craig Ferguson has a TARDIS on his desk.
Yeah.
So if you watch any Craig Ferguson clips, he's got the TARDIS.
Oh, yeah. Craig Ferguson, he's a huge Doctor Who fan. And, yeah, because I think it was those two in a band together. And then when you see the Doctor on a tank with a guitar in medieval times, and you're like, nothing is more badass than that right there.
As an actor, it is my biggest dream to be a companion of Doctor Who one day. They're never going to let me because I'm American. And
well, yeah, but
I guess I could get a dialect coach, but, you know.
If you watch enough Doctor Who, you could probably ping it. You could probably just watch
totally do it.
Like Doctor Who, Downtown
BBC,
Abbey.
Disney, hire me.
You know, just watch a bunch of that.
Oh yeah, I watched a lot. I watch a lot of British stuff in general. Like, you know, I got most of my family to watch Downton Abbey, actually, because I thought it was so good. You got Maggie Smith in it, too, which was... Okay. She did incredible. Professor McGonagall, if anybody's unaware.
There you go. I know the name now. Yeah. But, and then you had, what was that? what was that? It was a murder, a crime show.
Are you thinking of Sherlock? BBC Sherlock?
No, it had David Tennant and Jodie Whittaker in it.
Oh, I don't know.
Oh, I forget the name of the show because Chris Chibnall wrote the show, and it was on BBC because there was what was that one? Orphan Black was on because the BBC's only had like
some
one.
of Orphan Black. I think, but
BBC's only had one successful show, and then they pair it up with something else. So it's always been like Doctor Who, and then something else. So it was like Orphan Black, and this is obviously after Top Gear left because they had nothing else. That Top Gear was like 90% of their budget. Doctor Who was like the other 2%. And then their nature dramas, but you had the Doctor Who stuff. A primary majority of their popularity is Doctor Who.
Yeah. Oh, for sure. I mean, what else? If you can look at the BBC and tell me for a fact that you've watched all of any other show that they've done, then I'll give it to you. But
it bothers me because it's on the tip of my tongue. I remember the name of that goddamn show they were in. It was Jodie Whittaker and David Tennant.
I got you. Hold on. Broadchurch?
Yes. I knew it had a stupid name. Broadchurch. It was Broadchurch. But, yeah, that was because Chris Chibnall left that, and then Jodie Whittaker left with Chris Chibnall. Yeah. So it was almost like, hey, bundle deal.
Hey,
all right, later. Yeah, bundle deal. Get the fuck out. But, I think it's in a good place, and I'm excited to see the rest of the season.
I'm so excited for the rest.
Next episode with Ruby Sunday and the DJ. I hope she tells her whole story.
Yeah, because she's got a little boyfriend now.
She's not going back with the doctor. Got the new companion. Hey, what's up?
You get Belinda and Ruby in the same episode, which is
I'd almost like if it's just a Ruby episode.
They did show Belinda, so I know she's going to be in it as well.
I
don't know how much of it she's going to be in though, because obviously they've made it back to Earth in this one.
Yeah.
Because you've got Ruby, so I think maybe Belinda will like leave to go see her family, maybe go home and stuff. She does have a whole job. She is literally
she's a nurse.
And she just kind of left, and she's been wanting to go home. So.
Who knows how long the time gap is from when they left to where they were able to get back.
Yeah,
so
we don't know yet where.
That's where, like, hey, maybe there is this bigger time gap here that they pop out. She doesn't have a job anymore.
Oh, no, Belinda.
Bad shit like that happens.
Yeah.
Hey, you didn't show up for a month. No, you don't work here anymore.
Girl, no, called no-showed us for a whole month.
Like a day, I get it, but a month?
I don't think traveling the universe in a blue box is going to be a good excuse for that one either.
Because that was the third episode with Rose was she came back and her mom had missing posters everywhere.
Yeah, because it was so they were supposed to go. They were like I think it was like 2 hours or something. Because
old Missy Tardis was like, "No, you got to come back here."
It was like months. They had gone way, way, way ahead, and
old Missy Tardis,
like,
drop her off here and then make his next stop over there. No, you're going 6 months from when you stopped.
I miss Jackie Tyler.
That's the Tardis's logic right there.
Bring back Jackie Tyler.
God,
she's in another universe right now. No, well, she would be in the parallel dimension with Rose because
you bring her and that'd be cool if you just have like Shooty and then the two tenants, the alternate doctor and that one, because you have both of them older.
Yeah, you've got the original tenant, and then you've got the bi-generation tenant, which
then with
that
Shooty,
would be insane.
I think that would be awesome if you just get rid of both the tenants at the same time.
Back. I know he's in House of the Dragon right now, though.
Yeah,
which he's doing great.
He's doing great, and he is my favorite part.
He did not have any. He didn't do shit in the last season, by the way.
No, he didn't.
Daemon Targaryen did absolutely nothing.
No, he was sulking and tripping balls.
Yeah, he was just going insane in a castle and meeting a crow lady, like.
Yeah, but the tripping balls episode was pretty cool. He was losing.
That was I think because of the crow lady, wasn't it? She like did something. She like
something like
in
that
his food or something. I don't know.
But that's one of the things to where when you do see a doctor,
it's hard to see them as anything else.
See, because Christopher Eccleston was the invisible guy from Heroes.
Yeah.
He was that for me before he was my doctor.
My friend that I'm having watch it right now, he only knew Matt Smith from House of the Dragon.
Mm-hmm.
He hadn't seen him in anything else. So to him, he was just Daemon Targaryen in his mind. So now,
anytime I see Matt Smith, I'll watch his stuff, but it's also, I'm like, hello, doctor.
hello,
Yeah.
where is your bow tie, sir?
See, to where David Tennant, I don't have that problem because I
He's
saw
in
him
so
as
many good things.
I saw him as Kilgrave.
Kilgrave, yeah. Oh my fucking god, he did
You see him?
incredible in Jessica
You
Jones.
see him as Kilgrave in the first season. I will say this till the day I die. The first season of Jessica Jones is one of the best.
It is so good.
It's one of the best
TV. Like
It's
hands down one of the best Marvel things they've done.
because
Next to Daredevil Born Again, of course.
it was the first season was a gigantic metaphor of rape.
Yeah,
and
he was taking
assault.
advantage of her. He plays the villain so well.
And how she was able to come through in the end and overall kill him. But
Especially with her being like, with her power set being that she is stronger than everybody around her,
Mhm.
and she couldn't do anything because he has mind control.
it was the best plot line that you could have started Jessica Jones out with. It kind of fizzled out towards the end, like all the Netflix
Yeah,
shows.
I mean,
But bringing that's the best part of Born Again because maybe Kilgrave is still alive.
oh yeah,
and
who
then
knows?
you could bring Kilgrave
oh my
back.
god, Frank and the the Punisher, Frank, and
I love
Matt
John
Murdock
Bernthal.
having that. Just everything they did together in that show was incredible. That I have watched the fight scene where the anti-vigilante cops come in and Daredevil's like, I don't want your kind of help. And he looks into him and he's like, you gonna jump in front of a bullet for this guy too? What about this guy? Does he matter? And then shoots him in the head.
That's the best part, and that's part when you get into a lot of the series. They kind of fell off, but when you look at Daredevil, they did it right. They went back. They're building off of
And honestly,
what they were
Daredevil
gonna do.
season 3, like the original Netflix season 3, was still some of the best TV I've ever seen. Like Bullseye.
Season 4 was going to be amazing. It was going to
my
involve
God.
Typhoid Mary.
Oh yeah, from God, what was she in? Iron Fist? Was that Iron Fist season 2?
It was going to involve Typhoid
she
Mary.
was the only
and
part of Iron Fist season 2 that I cared about.
it was going to be great. And I mean, some people are saying that we should bring back Finn Jones. Some saying we should give him a chance.
I think that he would be good. I think that a lot of his issue, like in the first season of Iron Fist, was that they wrote him poorly.
Yeah.
Because like they just kind of made him a dick. Like
well,
for no reason.
I just did a podcast on Tales of the Hunted, and
Oh my god.
of course, the guys were bashing on Frank and my guest were both bashing on Finn Jones, and
Don't you
I
ever
try,
talk
man.
shit on Frank Castle ever.
I mean, Frank Castle, the Punisher, they obviously best because
So
John
good.
Bernthal went through. He did the research on the character, and he was actually going to walk away from Daredevil Born Again this
God,
season
I'm so glad he didn't.
because of how they wrote him, and they went back and rewrote it until he was happy.
Yeah.
So that's how we got the Frank Castle.
I really
we got.
think that they did like such a good job with Frank's character. I like that this turned into like a Daredevil podcast.
It's just like
now.
nerding out
We're
altogether
just-
now. Yeah.
We went from Doctor Who and now we're talking about Daredevil and
Well,
I
Daredevil
got
is
the
one of the
shirt
bigger
on today,
things.
everybody.
Yeah. And Daredevil's one of those shows that it's a lot like, Andor. It's a lot like the Doctor Who. Disney Plus is really fucking killing it right now.
Yeah, they're really going hard.
And you look at the other streaming platforms, and not once since I have canceled Paramount have I ever wanted it.
Oh, I had Paramount Plus for like a month or so when the iCarly spinoff came out because I watched it with my mom.
Well, because I'm a Trekkie, I really loved Lower Decks and Discovery, and then
Yeah.
it's like, all right, all you have is Star Wars.
See, I think you can
and
get a lot
Halo.
of that on Tubi for free now. Like
Yeah.
they did not. I was
just have
paying
to
for
sit through some
BritBox.
commercials.
Yeah, I was paying for BritBox for a long time because
Mm-hmm.
they didn't have Classic Who on anything else.
They keep that
And they
under lock and fucking
They
key.
just put it on Tubi recently, so I was like,
Okay.
oh my god, I can watch all of it for free. This is great, and the ads really are not that much. Like
They're
don't.
not that bad.
Yeah, they don't interrupt.
If you
like
really
that.
want to, my buddy was watching. He pulled up Constantine yesterday.
Yeah.
We were over at his house, and it had ads. Didn't care
Yeah,
because it's a great movie when you go through it.
I think too a lot of us these days have like this weird aversion to like ads
Mm-hmm.
because we're so used to like YouTube videos and stuff where like now you can skip any ad. Like for the most part you can skip ads.
Yeah.
And like y'all would not have made it back in the day when I had to watch commercials anytime I wanted to watch anything. Like that's how cable was. And now, like, we have such low tolerance for, like, advertisements and stuff. And, like, I get
Yeah.
it, because there's...
Well, even I do. Even I get really pissed off
I
at
get
the
annoyed.
advertisements, and I get really mad when, especially on YouTube, they'll do 2 commercials.
Oh, yeah.
But you can't
skip
them.
the one.
And it goes all the way through both commercials.
Well, now they have the thing where it's like the first ad you have to watch, and then the second one they'll do like 3.
Mhm.
The second one you can just press like next
Mhm.
on, and then it'll go to the next one, and it's only like 5 seconds of that one, and then you can skip.
Yeah, the advertisers are getting very creative.
Yeah,
but
they sure are.
if they give me the level to skip advertising,
I will.
I will.
I'm
I will
going to
pay,
skip.
I will skip it. Not a
But
problem.
I mean, Tubi really is not that bad with it.
Well, that's where you got something like Tubi out there to where, hey, just sit through ads. We'll buy the license. We'll give you whatever you want.
I'm really upset though that there was that BBC fire that we lost a lot of episodes.
Well, and they have the
They've got
animation.
the animated ones, but not all of them. They didn't do that for every missing serial.
Well,
because
animation is expensive.
Oh, I know.
That's
But
probably
no,
why I
look,
wouldn't do that shit either.
I don't even want to talk because it's like Archer style animation. Like it's almost not mocap, but like you know what I mean. Like,
Yeah.
Kinda like
it's
how,
it's not fluent.
no.
It's not fluent at all.
It's
very
honestly
cheesy.
like it makes the show feel like a comedy sometimes when you're watching the animated ones.
almost like
Especially
the
with-
old Hanna-Barbera
Yeah.
cartoons.
Especially with like the second
almost like
Doctor,
that.
when
Mhm.
he pulls out his recorder anytime, like in animation, it's
Yeah.
just immediately hilarious to me.
Well, and you got to think, different time.
Yeah,
This was a variety show. This was something
it
that
sure
was just,
I mean, they had
hey, look at this now, Doctor Who, and then
the thing
cut
is,
into
though, they
it.
had like long running serials.
Yeah.
Like it wasn't like a Monster of the Week kind of thing. It was like one storyline for 6 episodes. And
Yeah.
like then you go on to the next storyline for like 6 to 8 episodes maybe. Like it depends.
It's very jarring when you look at it because Classic Who is very theatrical, and it does have those long arcs
Yeah.
because they wanted you to come back and tune in
Well,
every
because they
week.
they would play it during the weekdays. That's why it would be like 6 or so episodes because it would be on every weeknight.
And they didn't have syndication. It
No.
was just, this was your time. All right, you saw it.
That's it.
That was it. And
We
you
may
go
or
on
may
next
not
week.
rerun this at some point.
Yeah, depending on how the ratings were. So now, now that you have this, there's a lot more replayability. That's also why I'm not really worried about, like Disney canceling Doctor Who.
Yeah.
It's the rewatchability, especially when you look at Netflix and a lot of these series, you'll see fan favorite series got canceled. Probably because
Yeah.
they saw the numbers go like that.
Yeah, I hate that they do that because there's a lot of stuff that like I'm just never gonna see the end of because you guys didn't like it enough,
Oh,
but I liked it too much.
Travelers was a great series.
It's the
It got,
it's the
one
Firefly.
season. Firefly,
effect.
you get those seasons, and you just get one season of a show. But that's where when I do a series, it's gonna be a limited series, just like Damien Lindelof did with Watchmen.
Oh yeah, Watchmen
That
was
is
great.
your experience. This is the story I wanted to tell. I think if you're not, if you're planning on just running all right, we're going to do as many episodes as we can, that's one thing. But if you want to have an actual, this is my story to tell, doesn't fit on a movie, I want to have it longer so I have some space to evolve the characters out, that's the perfect kind of style for that. But I'm going to end off our first podcast here. We did start off with Doctor Who, if you guys would believe. And we'll do this again. And I end off all my podcasts the same way, Wallhangers, and that's that. We love you, we miss you, and we want to see you next time. Until then, game on, boys and girls. Bye-bye.
Bye.